I hope that this message finds you well. I know many of you are traveling similar timelines as I am, and so sometimes it might be a little bit bumpy. It's one of those end up grateful for the some of the readings that are like buckle up buttercup, because then you know what, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be like a roller coaster for a minute, but we're gonna get through the ride, and at the end it's going to be beautiful, right? So today's message is to think about what you want. I've been sitting with this one for a while today. I think yesterday's I felt that passion of the moon in Aries and the sun in Sag, and I believe Mars just went into Aries too, and now we have Mercury in Capricorn, which is my actual natal placement too. So I think the words are a little bit more not measured per se. They just don't need to come out with such force. The thoughts don't either. Our Mercury placement is how we think about things and how we communicate things. And what I've been thinking about today is some conversations that I've been having with a couple of people. And I remember, it's funny, I remember having similar conversations years ago. Like, like this isn't a new thought. It's just it reoccurring in a way to where I'm not held back by it. Like the thought is this, okay? When I went on my wickedly divine feminine tour, an unprompted, spontaneous trip to wherever, I noticed that, I mean, my energy was so different, and I was able to call in assistance and support and donations and viewers and more subscribers and jobs and places to stay and kindness. And, I wasn't lacking for anything out on my own in the world, no plan, just enjoying whatever came, whatever, wherever I felt called to go. Whoever said, yes, come visit me. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I started getting weird calls. Like I'd actually, I mean, I was trying to help take care of my parents, and I tried to make sure that they were set up, like that they could use my car and things were good, but things don't typically go that way. Even when you think you're prepared, there's something wrong, something upsetting, something blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into those vibes too much. So, in any case, what I noticed though is like I had someone donate a check to me for $500 while I was on the trip. And everything seemed to go well until it was time that I had to go back. And the complaints started coming in, and then the check wasn't good, and I had to spend the rest of my money and even borrow some more from my family to get back up to them to help, and they wouldn't even officially ask for it. It was my oldest son. I said, can you please come back? Like, I don't know why they're not asking you for this, and they're being weird with me, and all this stuff's happening. And I was like, whoa. Like, you'd think the adults would have been the ones to have actually just said it. But what I realized was it's often when I have tried to go back for people that have been holding themselves back, that have been holding themselves in spaces of lack and cynicism and skepticism, that my abundance drops. And what it made me, or not made me, what it inspired me to remember was some years ago when I said, the thing that's typically stopped me when I've been either in the middle of a passion project that's going well, or when I've been ready to start a new one that I know is going to go well, it's the voices in my head from my parents, my family, even my DM for a while, his family, and other people I knew that were like, but wait a minute, remember that one time you screwed up? Or no, 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 you can't take any risks or leaps of faith. Like, you could screw it up more than you already have, and look how little you already have. See what I mean? Like, they get into that stinking thinking, or like, oh, I could never do that, or well, you're just special, like, especially when you start just holding a boundary of, you let them say what they say and feel what they feel, but you hold yourself into a better space of light. Then they start getting upset. Like, well, you're not everybody's at your level, or well, you just get all the breaks, or well, people just give you things or stuff like that. And then it starts to, wear at you. And it was interesting because like I literally did not plan that trip. That was part of the fun of that trip. Even my therapist was like, "I'm so proud of you. Like you did a thing without a plan." Like cuz I'm a Capricorn, you know? Like I always have a plan except recently, you know? And it was nice in so many respects to even like, the funny thing is what comes to mind was like when I was headed back to the house, and my mom had said, so she'd said a bunch of weird things while I was gone, but one of the things she says, well, you could at least come back and do your laundry and when fix things before you go again. And I was like, I already did laundry. She goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I traded somebody. They wanted me to come back and sing karaoke of all things you could believe, and they gave me a couple of bucks to be able to do my laundry. I said somebody else, ironically, before, like, I was just getting ready to go in there and do it, and they needed the dryer, so they folded my clothes too, which, funny enough, happened here too, which is really funny at the hotel we're at. Except for at that one, the person folded my clothes funny for me. I wasn't used to it, the way that they did it, but then here at the hotel, they folded them just like my DM does. It was an interesting sign. Anyways, I remember distinctly feeling, like empathically feeling my mom feeling like, I know it was partly like not feeling needed, but it was almost like she was upset in a like an angry, resentful way, that it was like I did so well out on my own. And like I knew when I had the urge to go. Like all it did was start out as, you know what, I'm just gonna get out of town. I'm like thinking about my DM too much. Need a break from family and the kids, even just for me, just some time for me. And like when it happened, it was like, look what all I can do. Look how supported I am. Like I don't need anything. I left with literally just the clothes on my back, my little ukulele, which is like a miniature guitar or a supersized ukulele, whatever way you want to think of it. It's a hybrid. And my little stuffy and my tarot cards with my financial cards in it. Like that was it. Like, asked if I could borrow the car and a little bit of cash, but otherwise I door dashed. I worked jobs where I could for fun. And built good reputation. I got the title of the happiest dishwasher ever in one of the places I stopped and worked at. Like it was just nice to be liberated, but to be in that space where it was like I really didn't need much of anything at all, and the stuff that I did ask for, I knew I could do without it. It was just like, I mean, this would make it easier to go from point A to point B, and people were like, yeah, okay, good, here, we want to support you, we want to do stuff. And I was releasing a lot of emotions at the time, a lot of memories, good and bad. That's kind of the interesting thing too. When I started releasing emotions like on my Facebook and my YouTube and stuff like that, like I started to notice something like between that and just being away from things, seeing, I even warned my oldest son. I said, look, things should hopefully just be fine and nothing should be wrong. However, I don't want to leave you surprised if it ends up being that you are the person that they turn on because you are the one who is here. Like, I have worried for a long time that if I was not there in the middle, like trying to bring people up, trying to shield the kids from passive aggressive stuff and ways that I was raised that I do not want my kids to have to go through because nobody deserves that. And like, it did happen. And then I noticed the dynamics of so many people that I had kept in my life because, like, it was like I was trying to accept just little scraps from as many people as possible to try to feel like partly like I belonged somewhere in the world, but also like maybe between the collective of people I had enough attention and affirmation and validation and things like that. And the funny thing is, like, I mean, I've seen so many of the people that I know, like, I've even asked several of them, like, why is it like I could post something freaking amazing and I might get like two or three people that'll be like, yeah, that's cool. And yet they could say hi and have like 60 to 600 people be like, hi, we love you. And it's like, it's not even so much like an envy thing. It's just like a literal, it's kind of a neurodivergent question of like, why is that? Like, what is it on there that's the difference? And like, you can talk about all sorts of little things, but you know what? I realize it's the energy. It really is. And it's the energy that's there. Like, whether or not, like, it's not the actual 3D thing. Like, people commenting or calling or texting or liking or subscriber levels or fans or whatever you want to call them, TikTok followers. Like, those really are irrelevant. It's the energy of things, it's the energy you put out into the world. People really do respond to that. And what I noticed most especially was like, the more I started to release, I'm going to say, other people's nasty secrets that I had been holding on to because I was playing the game, right? Playing the codependent game, wearing the mask, like, because I didn't want them to talk about what I thought was shameful. And I knew that the stuff I had done wasn't even really anything. So it wasn't even for that real reason. A lot of them would get mad at me because there was not much they could really say about me because I try to live in a good way. Not even in, I don't want to be like morally upright, but like just in a good way, in an authentic way, in a benevolent way. Like, to me, benevolence isn't all light, it's light and shadow, it's balance, right? But that just seemed to offend people more who were not in that space, who were in a fear space, in a lack space. And the more that I started just saying, you know what, I'm going to speak my story. Like, having a voice is such a powerful thing. And when you have people around you that you feel like if I say this, they might not like me, or if I say that, they might try to shame me, or if I say this, they won't be unhappy because they don't have a good role in the story that I have to share, or the memory, or things like that. And I realized, it really is not that big of a thing to give myself permission to have my own voice. And yet, for decades, people have been trying to quiet my voice. And I thought about it too, like, I mean, I'm more in a place of forgiveness with my adopted mom. Like, there's still some righteous indignation in there and stuff, though I know if she could have seen how much happier she would have been to have chosen to be happier and connected in those ways, that she would have. Though I think about it, and it's like, it's been multiple times in my life that like I've been super excited to do something that not only knew I was passionate about and I could do and I would be supported in. And for a long time, the first person I'd go to talk to was my mom. And she would be the first person to tell me all the reasons that it would get fucked up or go wrong, or why. Like, well, you quit karate class that one time when you were 11. Or, well, you were never very good at mowing the lawn. Or, well, you couldn't keep track of homework. You know what I mean? Like, just continuous. And it was hard for me because I do feel a certain loyalty. I have felt a certain loyalty to family. And especially having been adopted, it was kind of one of those. I mean, the story was always told for a long time as like, well, it was really expensive. Like, we paid so much to adopt you and stuff. I mean, there was some beautiful emotions in it here and there. There was one recently where she actually remembered the name of the doctor that delivered me and stuff. And like, that was cool, though it almost made it harder to like recognize that like 90% of the stories were not benevolent. They were not positive. And I remember so many times thinking like, it's that voice, like in my subconscious, like whenever I'm thinking about like right now, I've got support in getting into a new place for me and my kids and my oldest son's emotional support bird. And I've had more of those people who I guess I was expecting them to be more like my family and more like my DM's family and just be like, well, we can barely give you anything and we're gonna, like, we're either gonna make you feel like crap about it or trap you into it, or you have to do things just the way that we would do them in order for you to get it. Like, you gotta do the dance with the marionette strings in order to get it here and there, or not only will we not help you, we'll take you down. And even with the last person that I was going to roommate with, similar sort of thing. You don't play the game the way you want to. If you challenge anything, if you try to have healthy boundaries, if you try to have good conflict resolution, like, no. You got to do the dance, or there is no resources. There's no exception, no or no acceptance, no affection, things like that. And not only if you don't do it, but it'll be made worse, right? And so it was such an interesting thing in several moments, like when people came to like check on things with me and my son, my oldest son, and were asking even like they were asking him like what did he want. And I was proud of him to a degree because he just stopped and was like, well, what I need is this. And I could make do with that. And I knew that we were in safe company enough to tell him, like, honey, they're not asking just what you need. I'm proud of you that you wouldn't ask for more than you need. I know you get that from me, and that's a good thing. However, there are some times in your life when you will be gifted with people around you who want to know what you want. And they might not be able to get to the goal of what you want, but if they know what it is, they can try, you know? And then those, a lot of those same people, I got put in that position later. It was with something as simple as buying a coat. Because I'd realized that even though I brought like 4 hoodies, it was not enough to stay warm in weather when it's starting to get very cold and wet and snowy. And I had reserved most of the space that we had for my son's stuff and his emotional support bird stuff. So, I did. I said, look, I would much rather have them be happy. I can figure out the rest later. I don't need much. Let's just get to safety and get our new life started. And when it came time to pick out a coat, it was like, okay, well, what's the budget? Me and my Capricorns are like, what's the budget? And they were like, well, what do you want? And in the past, I would have fought it. And I would have been like, no, I'd feel too bad if you spent too much. But in that moment, I said, what am I doing? I spent all this time, Spirit's been showing me. And I've been telling it to other people, like, think about what you want, right? And then allow it in. So I said, you know what? I like this one. Let's see if it's in my size, in the color that I like. Now, it was not in the specific color that I wanted on its own, but that's okay because that was the same color that my son liked, and we ended up getting him one in that color. And I don't mind them. The one I got is gray. It's nice. Like, it's a good earthy tone. I look good in gray. It's not bad, right? And it was just nice to not have to look at the price tag, not to have to worry about it for a minute, to just say, you know what? I don't have to feel guilty. These people would not be here smiling at me saying, what do you want? Get what you want. If they weren't able to do it, if they didn't want to do it. And I mean, it's like I was saying to one of them the other day, like, I don't think I've ever really had like a good coat that I liked that wasn't like, I don't know. I mean, my family's bought me coats in the past, but usually it wasn't like a matter of either what I wanted or utility. It was like a combination of what they thought looked fashionable, I guess, or trendy and warm-ish, or like overly warm and stuff. And this coat that I have it's like a warm hug. I don't know. It reminds me of some of my DM's old coats and stuff that he sometimes let me wear. It was funny because in our past, like, it was more me giving him my coats. Like, I had just one that I liked that was so simple. It was a jean jacket coat with Winnie the Pooh on the back. Like, and I had asked for that one. And I let him wear it a lot because I was bigger and he was very skinny. And so it was like, you know what? You wear it and be warm, and I'll just cuddle with you. And we'll both be warm. And it worked. But other than that, like, I've not really just had a nice coat with enough pockets that I don't have to have a whole bunch of other stuff on me. I'm not like weighed down by stuff. And that was just a simple thing, right? A coat that I wanted, a coat that I got to pick out, a coat that I didn't have to feel guilty about, a coat that I didn't have to like look at the price tag and make myself feel awful first, right? And so now, like, I mean, and finding out that I've got support and helping to get us into a new place so we're not in a hotel, place where I can have a nice background to do my videos in and do my tarot readings from, that is our place, that isn't like a place where people go, oh no, it's yours too, it's all yours too, until you do something that they don't like. And then there's no conflict resolution, because I mean, we're humans. There's going to be times that we butt up against each other. The hard part is when there's no conflict resolution, like especially if you butt up against someone who's got codependent loops going on, like then it's a challenge to their whole sense of life. And then you got to try to figure out, like, I can remember so many times even asking people for assistance, like with my parents, and it was either like, well, they're old and they're broken, so you're just gonna have to fucking deal with it till they're gone. And it's like, you know how frustrating that is. One, to think of your own parents as broken because they're old. Like, I love elders, and I do not see elders as broken. Yes, there are plenty who are certainly set in their ways in some ways, but there's a difference between being set in your ways and having certain things that you like to have, like this or like that, and having unhealthy cycles. That's why I'm a firm believer that, like, there is no age limit on therapy. There is no age limit on personal growth. Yes, there might be a certain point in time when, say, like dementia or Alzheimer's or things come into play and do challenge things. But why do we hold elders in a space to where, when natural age things come in, that suddenly they're broken? And then the other people that I would talk to would say, "Oh, well, you just have to do more. You have to say it different. You have to do this. You have to have more boundaries. You have to be here. You just have to ignore it. You have to ignore the comments, ignore the passive aggressiveness. Just do more. Do more, do more, do more, do more." Even if you're sitting there telling them, listing out all the things that you're doing, and it's not working, or you've done those things, or you'll do those things again, and you give them results, and it's always the same answer. And And then it came down to that same kind of stuff with, like, my DM stuff or his family or other people that I had in my life or situations. It was always shut up, stop complaining, feel guilty, feel shameful, don't do anything to rock the boat. Don't speak your story, because think about all the people in it that might be affected by the people who didn't do make good choices, so they don't look well in those stories. Don't rock the boat. Don't speak things up. And certainly, no matter what you do not be better. Do not rise up. Do not have more, because somehow then you might be taking from those who already have less. Just you doing better might make other people feel lesser, or feel not needed, or look at their stuff and feel like envious, and then things will happen. And don't stand up for yourself, and don't speak the truth. And you know what I realized when I went on that trip and I started speaking my story? And I had like thousands of friends on my Facebook and subscribers on my YouTube and stuff. I realized how many people that, like, I'd held on to because I wanted to have more interactions with them in various different circles. Like, I've never had like a friend or an acquaintance that I held on to because I thought they could do something for me, or like because I pictured at some point in time in my life I'd be on like the homelessness train and need assistance or guidance or anything. I just always kind of assumed, I guess, that people would be there. That, like, I mean, it just seemed to me that they would, and there are a lot who are, so I wasn't wrong. Though I realized it was kind of a weird, like, grieving thing of, like, how many people I knew that were stuck in, like, victim consciousness. Like, they had to win. They could never be seen as weak. And, like, they weren't, what's the word? They weren't loving themselves. And so it was all about trying to get something out of it, or trying to control the outcome. Trying to look stronger, tougher, healthier, whatever thing. And then the people who were cynics, who I realized, in the past, I used to take it personally, like that they did not believe in me, until I realized that it was not that they necessarily did not believe in me. It's that they didn't believe in themselves. They didn't really know how. And at that point, I thought about all of the work that I've done on unraveling being codependent and attachment traumas and all that stuff. And I mean, I released some hella cool people because the dynamics did become codependent. And I said, what do I want? Do I want, like, to always desperately hold on to friendships and relationships and stuff so I'll never be alone and I'll always have somebody to call when I feel emotional? Or do I want healthy relationships, even if they sometimes don't last, even if they're through different people, even if it means changing around and stuff? Do I want to be healthy or do I want to feel better? Because even the people that, like, I was like, you know what, this is cool and I align with these people a lot more than them, they were also in that kind of cynical energy, the Isle of the Broken kind of stuff. And then I had decided, this was months ago, like, I want to say like 7 or 8 months ago even, I was like, no, you know what, I set on this path to get healthier, to get to a place of at least decent self-love and self-respect and self-belief. I wanted to liberate myself in, well, I just wanted to liberate myself from those, the doubts and the shames and the things that people typically use to limit themselves. And I did. And then I did it again when I was on that trip and telling my story and realizing how many people could help, could be standing with me, could be, sticking up for kids, could be helping me with my kids, could have helped prevent even this homelessness thing. And it's not that they had to. Like, I don't feel bad. I'm not mad that people didn't, but what I realized was that I no longer aligned with people that were in that space anymore, that had to win, or would, even if they believed you and agreed with you, they were more worried about what other people thought. And they were quick to use whatever excuse. Well, I have a disability, or I'm pregnant, or I have cancer, or I've been traumatized in the past. And I realized, the funny thing is like I wasn't mad about it. It was just like, what do I want? Do I want to feel like I'm surrounded by people who not only can, they will support me should I ask for it? Not just when I need it, but when I want it? Do I feel like I deserve that? And I said, you know what? I do. I do. I've been down in the trenches with people for a long time and I don't regret it. Though I want to be able to be in a space where, I don't know, like I'm vibrating high enough that I can help uplift others. And I've already been doing that with next to nothing in the 3D. Even my oldest son and I were talking about it. Like, yeah, there's been certain things that I think was more spirits push to say, this is not where you're supposed to rest, that created messy chaos to go. But there's not a single situation that we haven't been in that didn't get improved in some way. Even if there was a bit of conflict, even if there was a bit of mess, it was better than where it was when we started. And I like that. And I like knowing that I can do more of that. And when I stop and think about what do I want, that's something that I want. It's not a need, it's a want. Something that, actually, it's what sent my DM into a spin and got us to the separation point. I mean, there was a lot of factors in there, but it was like what we talked about in our couples therapy was like, I didn't want to be somebody he was with because he felt like he needed me, like a desperate need. Like, without me, I'll be unprotected. He'd be unprotected. Without me, he wouldn't know what decision to make. Without me, this and this and this and that. And it's like, I get what you're feeling, though. I don't want a relationship that is based only on need. I want you to be with me because you want to be with me. You don't need to be with me. There's such a difference in friendships and relationships and even familial dynamics when it's because they want to, not because they have to, because they feel like they'll be helpless or powerless or weak or lacking something, but because they want to. And now I'm sitting in this place, like, looking at houses and apartments that, like, I look at them and I think, you know what, I can comfortably afford that between the work that I do, and especially that I'd have more setup to be able to work on my channel, more setup to be able to help people. Like, yeah, I can totally do that. And the only thing that sat back in my mind telling me, like, no, you got to take the bare minimum. No, don't do that. You might get stuck. You might get trapped. You might get, and which is funny, these are all things that actually my DM challenged me on for a while. I used to not like it, but I do now. Like, I have faith. I have faith in myself because I know what I want, and it's okay to change my mind, and it's okay to know that I can do it and not worry about the voices of the past. And so that's the message for you today too. Don't worry about who might think you can't do it, and release those voices in your head that say, "Oh, but you might mess up." Yeah, you might. So make a big fantastic frickin' mess along the way, cuz it'll help you get to where you are stable. All right, y'all. My battery's getting low, so I love you all, and I will be back soon.